Oscar sets off on a risky journey up the tower in an attempt to become the Witch of the Azure Moon's master. He thinks the curse on him can be lifted by the witch's extraordinary abilities, but after seeing the beautiful witch, he has another idea. He suggests that the witch become his wife instead, since he believes she is resilient enough to bear the curse. Subscribe to the channel to follow the story as it plays out. The story begins with a prince and his assistant, Lazar, traveling via horses. Lazar suggests that they go back to the castle because he believes that they are in danger. He thinks the journey is too dangerous for them to embark on. He even tries to scare the prince by telling him that the witch might end up casting another curse on him. This means the prince already has a curse that is affecting him. The prince simply says he will be worrying about this when the time comes. He has been on this for 15 years and has found nothing. He believes that the Witch of the Azure Moon that they are going to meet will have a solution to his problem. However, if this doesn't work too, he plans to find the witch responsible for his curse, and this is the Witch of Silence. This is basically a story of a prince who is cursed, and he seeks out the witch living in the Azure Tower for help concerning the lifting of his curse. The prince and Lazar soon arrive at the Azure Tower, which looks like it is made from crystals because of its blue appearance. Lazar recalls the fact that the Witch of Silence has not been seen for the past 15 years, and talking about the witch in the tower, no one has been lucky to see her in the previous years. The prince doesn't seem to get demotivated, even with everything that Lazar is saying. He keeps telling Lazar that he will find a way around it when the time comes. Lazar then tells the prince that he will not be able to return to the castle if the prince dies in the tower. The prince just tells the guy the solution to his problem, and this is him returning to the castle with a grieving face. Without further ado, the prince opens the door to the tower. It is said that there are various challenges that are present in the tower, and one must overcome all before getting to the top. Whoever gets to the top of the tower will have his or her wish granted by the wish who resides on the top of the tower. The prince starts his journey by climbing the first level of stairs, with Lazar cautiously following him. They get to the first wave of challenge, and Lazar notices that the entire floor is covered with snakes, but the prince doesn't even seem to mind. He catches one of the snakes, and after observing it, he throws it away, telling Lazar that they are not venomous. The first challenge requires that they solve a mathematical equation that is considered impossible to solve. However, this was solved a decade ago, so the prince knows the answer to it. He inputs the answer, and a smoke of green gas appears to show that they have diffused the situation. A magic circle appears right in front of them, which is to take them to the next floor, or next challenge. At the top of the tower, the witch is informed by her familiar, Litola, that some challengers are headed toward them. These are the first they are going to have in a while, she says. Litola wants the witch to come and watch, but she says no. She would rather stay on top and wait for them to get to her. That is, if they can actually get to her. As Litola is about to leave, the witch tells her that she knows what to do in case they fail the challenge. The witch is confident that the challengers will not make it past the guardian beast, but as she is saying this, the prince is taking down one of the guardian beasts, and this seems too easy for him. By this time, the prince and Lazar have made it halfway, but Lazar still thinks that they should go back. The prince tells him that he is free to go back if he wants. It turns out that the last person to complete the challenge was the prince's great-grandfather, and this was 70 years ago. King Regius took 10 men with him on the challenge, but he was the only one who made it to the top of the tower. Lazar actively continues to try and persuade the prince that they go back, but he is stubborn and not ready to. The two soon make it to a room where two guardian beasts are waiting for them. The prince tells Lazar to stay outside if he is scared, but he still goes ahead to follow him into the room. The prince engages the beasts, and in no time, he takes down one of them. Litola goes to the witch to update her about the current progress of the challengers. She tells the witch that only one person is taking down the challenges. The witch still believes that the prince is going to fail, but Litola thinks otherwise. The prince finishes defeating the beasts, and a magic circle appears in front as usual. Just then, the ground between the prince and Lazar collapses. The prince tries to rescue Lazar, but Lazar tells him to stay back because he will end up falling into the depth below. He tells the prince to continue the challenge without him, and he hopes that one day he will be there to witness the prince become a king. Right before the prince's eyes, Lazar falls to the depth below, and there is no indication that he is going to survive it. The prince continues his journey, and he pushes open the door that leads to the top of the tower. He arrives at the top to see a table and two chairs. There is a jug containing tea on the table, and while he is trying to figure out what is happening, the witch shows up, welcoming the prince. She tells him to take his seat, and she introduces herself as Tinasha. However, there are just a few people who call her by the name. The prince looks very well at her, telling her that she doesn't look like a witch. This hurts Tinasha's pride because the prince is judging her by her appearance. She then tells the prince that Lazar is uninjured and sleeping downstairs. The prince further asks Tinasha if she is using magic to keep herself young, and this further hurts her pride again. This bro can be so mean and he doesn't even know it. Tinasha then tells him that witches have different body physiology from humans. They get to a point where they no longer age, and this is why she has remained the way she is for hundreds of years. Tinasha then tells the prince to introduce himself. He apologizes for his rudeness, and he stands up to tell the witch that his name is Oscar Lyeth Increatos Las Farsas. Tinasha is surprised to hear this, and she asks him if he is Regius's descendant, to which he says yes. Tinasha says Oscar looks a little like Regius, but Regius is kinder than him. The prince then asks her if she is staying alone, but she says no. Latola shows up, and Tinasha introduces her to the prince. She affirms what the witch said earlier about Lazar sleeping at the bottom of the tower with no injury whatsoever. The prince then asks Tinasha if she terminates those who fail the challenge, but she says no. She reveals that she wipes their memories and sends them away to a different location. The prince talks about the guardian beasts and says they are capable of terminating someone. She then explains to him that they can easily detect when the challengers are about to be hit by a blow that will obviously kill them. They will be taken away and have their memories wiped out immediately. Litola then explains that most challengers come because of fame and wealth, but any challenger who comes because they want to heal their child or something like that, Tinasha still goes ahead to help them. Tinasha doesn't want Litola to tell Oscar about that, but there is no taking it back because it is already out. Oscar then asks her if she goes to town, but she says no. She has made the decision not to interfere in human life, and this is the reason she remains in her tower. Oscar wishes that the Witch of Silence was just like her. This is when he reveals that the Witch of Silence cursed his father when he was still a kid. She told his father that Oscar would be the last of the royal family because he never had the ability to beget an heir. The witch wants the Farsas bloodline to end with Oscar, and he doesn't even know how they wronged the wish. Oscar's father has also refused to tell Oscar about it anytime he asks for details. Oscar has tried several ways to try and break the curse, but nothing is working. He has studied hard and explored ruins that might hold answers, but nothing seems to be working for him. This is the reason he sought out Tinasha with the hope that she would be able to lift or break the curse. Tinasha then tells her that there is a problem with curses. It is kind of impossible to break because it takes several complicated pieces of magic to place a curse, which means the person who cursed Oscar might not even be able to lift it again. She analyzes the curse that has been placed on Oscar, telling him that the curse is woven like a blessing. This is the reason it is very potent and will never allow a child to grow. However, Tinasha believes that this can be solved by a special woman. Since she cannot break the curse, she wants to try and help out. She brings out a bowl of magic and tells Oscar that she wants to use this to search for a woman who can withstand the child's protective power. Oscar then says the said person might either be married, be a kid, or even be an elderly person. Tinasha offers a solution to the problem. She says Oscar has no hope whatsoever if the person is married. If the person is an elderly person, they can still make it work with the help of magic, and if the person is a kid, Oscar will just have to raise her to be his wife. Oscar then calls Tinasha by her name, which practically startles her because no one does. He asks her if she has the strength to withstand the baby's protective power, and she foolishly says yes. This is when it dawns on her that Oscar is trying to make her the woman who will get pregnant for him. Oscar says he doesn't need to find anybody further since Tinasha is capable. He is just going to claim Tinasha has the price of winning the challenge, but Tinasha says she doesn't want to. Oscar asks her if she is married, but she says no. This makes everything perfect for Oscar, because he will just easily make Tinasha his wife. Tinasha then points out the fact that the royal council will not want the pure blood to be tainted by that of a witch, but Oscar says he will handle it. Tinasha insists that she doesn't want to, because she also turned Regius down, but Oscar lets her know that he is not his great-grandfather, and will never back down on the offer. The two start to argue, and Tinasha threatens to wipe his memories if he fails to listen to what she is trying to tell him. She stands up to this, and Oscar also stands up to pull out his sword. Tinasha sees the sword and recognizes it as the royal sword Acacia, which is the only sword in the world that can resist magic. She wonders how Oscar is able to get it, and Oscar lets her know that it is better in his hands than being in some treasury. Tinasha realizes that they are at a standstill, and she suggests that they talk things out once again. Oscar then mentions the fact that Tinasha has once lived in the Farsas castle, and Tinasha says it is just for half a year. She was there teaching magic, raising flowers, and so on. Oscar hears this and proposes a deal to Tinasha. He wants her to come with him to the castle to live for 1 year. This is his request as a champion, and Tinasha decides to accept, telling Oscar that she will leave the castle for a year and act as his protector. Later on, Oscar gets downstairs to find Lazar sleeping, and he wakes him up. Lazar sees Tanasha and asks him who she is. Oscar then lies to the guy that Tanasha is the witch's pupil and will be following him to the castle to try and remove the curse. They get on their horses and start riding to the castle. Tanasha uses her magic to seal the tower's entrance to prevent anyone from entering till she is back. Tanasha then tells Oscar that he is free to tell her whatever he wants and she will get it done with magic. As they proceed to the castle, Oscar teases her, telling her that she can actually make Farsa's castle her permanent home, but she just brushes it off as a joke.